Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Rent Free with Kory Amyx. I'm Kory Amyx, and today marks the beginning of something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. Starting today and every Sunday from now until Election Day in November, we're launching a down-ballot candidate series. While national politics gets most of the headlines, the reality is that some of the biggest decisions affecting our daily lives are made much closer to home. School boards, city councils, county councils, township offices, and other local elected officials have a direct impact on our communities. Yet they often receive little to almost always the least attention. This series is about changing that. My goal isn't to tell you who to vote for. It is to give candidates from across Indiana an opportunity to introduce themselves, explain why they're running, share their ideas, and answer questions in a relaxed and long-form conversational environment. Whether you agree with them or not, I believe informed voters make stronger communities. Now, one quick reminder before we begin. Rent Free welcomes candidates from across the political spectrum. Appearing on this program is not an endorsement by me or my show. Our goal is simple: give voters the opportunity to hear directly from the people asking for their vote. You can agree, disagree, ask questions, and make your own decision. That's what this series is all about. Now, before we get started, there's one thing that I should mention. My feathered correspondent, Beaky, called in today, and unfortunately, he won't be making his debut on the Down Ballot series. Rather than trying to explain what happened, I think it's better if I let you hear him say it himself. So here's the voicemail he left me this morning. Go ahead and roll it.
Hey, Kory, it's Beaky. So I don't think I'm going to make it to the debut of Down Ballot Sundays. Listen, I can explain. I woke up, saw the news, and thought, you know who'd probably have a lot of feelings about this? Big Bird. So I texted him. Huge mistake. Next thing I know, Big Bird says, come on over, we're having a Save PBS party. Oscar the Grouch invited the Angry Bird. Honestly, that should have been my first clue this wasn't going to end well. Elmo invited Woody Woodpecker, because apparently someone thought giving Woody unlimited German beer steins was a good idea. Between you and I think Woody hit the nose candy too much in the 80s. Anyways, we started with one toast. Then somebody brought out the beer pong table, then Flippy Cup. Then Woody challenged the Angry Bird to a shot-for-shot rematch because he claimed the table was crooked. Big Bird kept knocking cups over with his giant ass. Oscar refused to pay for anything. Cookie Monster ate all the pretzels. And I may or may not have been crowned Oktoberfest beer pong champion. Anyway, I've got about 47 photos, 0 usable video. And I'm pretty sure Sesame Street has officially asked me not to come back until after the investigation. So I'm calling in. Let's call it Bird Flu. Good luck with the debut of Down Ballot Sundays. Tell everybody I'll be back Tuesday, assuming my lawyer clears it, oh no. Hey, you guys, why is the count counting empty steins? Yeah, I gotta go. Go, we try again.
Oh, Beaky. Well, if anybody happens to see Beaky today, tell him to drink some water and stay off Sesame Street for at least 24 hours. I have a feeling he's going to regret every one of those photos tomorrow. I've got questions about a few of those activities too. Spin the bottle, really? Now, let's get down to why we're all here. Today's lineup is a great example of what this series is all about. First, we'll be joined by Caiden McNew, who's running for the Tipton Community School Board. He's one of the youngest candidates you'll likely see on the ballot this year. And we'll talk about what inspired him to step into public service, what he believes our schools need most, and why he believes he's ready to serve his community. Later in the program, we'll welcome Carol Pearson, a good friend who's running for Hancock County Council District 3. We'll discuss county government, responsible budgeting, local priorities, and what she hopes to accomplish if elected. If you're joining us live, thank you for being here. Be sure to join the conversation in the comments. I'll be keeping an eye on your questions throughout both interviews. And if we have time, we'll work some of them into the discussion. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a water, settle in, and let's get to know the people asking for your vote. This is Rent Free with Kory Amyx. So, Caiden, welcome to the show.
Hello, Kory. Thank you for having me.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How are you?
I can't complain. It's been a crazy week. We were kind of talking about it off air. A lot of things going on.
Yeah.
So, kicking off our down ballot candidate series today, your story really immediately caught my attention, and I was really glad that you reached out to me. Most people running for school board have years of experience, right? Sometimes decades of professional experience before deciding to ever seek any kind of office. You kind of took a different path. So you just graduated from Tipton High School, right?
Yeah.
And you've already decided that instead of sitting on the sidelines, you want to help shape the future of the school system that you literally just left, right? You just graduated.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Tell us who you are, Caiden.
Yeah. So a lot of people know my father as a member of the school board who lost re-election in 2022 to the man who I'm running against. But I'm much more than just my father's son. I've been in the system for 13 years and I just graduated. I come from a family of course, my mother, who a lot of people in the community know is deceased. And during COVID,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's perfectly fine. The public school system in which we have in Tipton taught me to build the resiliency and the skills like dependability, which is outlined in our Tipton Pride slogan, that I don't think if I were to have went to a Catholic school or a charter school elsewhere, I would have been able to receive those types of skills. I know that a lot of people know that I led Tipton High School's ice walkout. We were joined by a lot of community members, and that was the first time in a while that Tipton students have felt heard. There's a big pillar of why Tipton thrives is the community building, and a lot of it is rooted in traditionalist policies. Our school slogan, our anthem, our mascot has been the same since Tipton was consolidated into Tipton Community School Corporation. And while I'm a progressive, I do see the value in traditionalism in a town like Tipton. And people are sick and tired of bills like SEA 1 that just gut public schools. And I think people are wanting a change, and I think I offer a change that's needed.
Awesome. Well, Caiden, most people your age are focused on college, careers, or simply figuring out life, right?
Yeah.
You decided to jump right on into elections. So why the school board instead of waiting a few years? Why didn't you wait a few years? What made you want to do it right now?
Well, the school board isn't a sexy position. If I wanted to make a change, I could have waited a year and ran for the city council. But I saw a position that needed filled. I was told by very valuable sources that the two incumbents that were going to be able to seek re-election were not going to. And I tried to recruit Democrats, independents, and conservative constitutionalist Republicans to run for the position. And there was a void that needed to be filled. So I filled it.
Okay. Was there a defining moment that convinced you to run, really? Or was there, what do you think was the one thing that, the one thing that made you want to go for this?
I think there were a few things, but my last is the final set nail in the coffin was I was on vacation with my band class, my group of band students in Niagara Falls. And on that trip, we were seeing a musical in Cleveland and there were no ADA accommodations. And while it wasn't anything school board related, myself and a few other students took the necessary steps to make sure that this student who was wheelchair bound was able to climb 2 stories and get to her seat without elevator access or without any accommodations. And someone very close to me asked me, why aren't you doing anything public office related? And I thought I couldn't. From every single person that has run for school board in Tipton Community School Corporation has had a history within the community, within the school somehow. I mean, I'm the youngest person by 20 or so years that has run for this position. So I thought I couldn't until someone asked me why couldn't I?
So what's one thing you experience as a student that adults may not fully understand that makes you right for this position?
I think one thing that I've experienced is certainly this new technological age of students experiencing mental health episodes due to technology. I mean, we hear about this brain rot and bed rot all the time, but I don't think we hear a lot from students about just how horrible it is to have a social media or a cell phone addiction. And I think it's more than just the phone. I think we hear adults say it's the damn phone all the time, but I think it's how the phone and the technology is being used. And I think when we have students and teachers who would rather be using pen and paper or would rather use hands-on activities like relational building skills that are met through person-to-person activity, you lose that online. And I think that's something that my generation knows a lot about that other generations don't. I mean, I grew up with a phone since, I was a preteen, and I've had technology around me since I was 4.
Yeah, your generation has quite literally had it, since you were born. My generation was the last generation to know what it's like to go play outside and not have technology. We got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I wish that your generation and future generations had some of those experiences, because there's great opportunities that come from technology, right? But it also can be very detrimental when used the wrong way.
Yeah.
What has surprised you the most during your campaign so far?
I think there's a lot of blending of different ideologies when it comes to local races that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I think when it comes to local issues, and especially the school board seat, a lot of people who would claim to be conservatives are more likely to vote for a Democrat, and a lot of people who would claim to be liberals or leftists may be more likely to vote for a Republican if that Republican shares the same aspects of the ideology and values that they do. And I think that's really, I think it's very promising that that's happening, but it certainly surprised me when I had lifelong Republicans and conservatives say that they support what I'm doing.
It's kind of crazy to talk to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
To talk to people that claim to be conservatives and they still relate with you, and they will still tell you that they're going to vote for you. I experienced that myself when I was on the campaign trail running for Congress this past year. So what do you think people misunderstand most about school board members?
I think what people misunderstand most is that if someone is elected to the school board, that they have the authority to just make motions and decide to do whatever executive committees that they want, and that it's day one, I get to do this, that, and the other, when really this isn't the executive position that everyone thinks it is. I can run on as, whatever policy and positions and identity that I want. And I'm still one person on a board of 7. And if the 2 candidates that aren't Republicans get elected, that's just 2 out of 7, which isn't a whole lot. This isn't going to be if I get elected, this isn't the seat that I hold and make a whole bunch of decisions. And this is going to be a lot of boring financial work of how are we going to get through this detrimental policy stripping that SEA 1 and these other school choice bills have introduced.
Right. So if elected, how would your recent experiences as a student influence your decisions?
I think there's this identity there that is there that other candidates don't have. I think I'm one of two that has actually graduated from Tipton High School, but I'm also the only one that has graduated in the last 20 years from any high school. I think that definitely shows that I have the ability to talk to teachers and students and understand what they're kind of going through. I think being in the classroom the last 13 years, even if I don't remember a whole lot of what my teacher was talking about 10 years ago in fourth grade, I still remember the talks of, okay, well, this is a language class. How are we going to work through this AI language lab now that we're losing all of our language teachers? The consolidation of our arts department, the fact that our band director and our show choir director are going to be the same person. That is insane. And the burnout that's going to lead from that position becoming one is going to be detrimental to our arts program at Tipton. I think the fact that not only I'm a recent graduate, but the fact that I'm a recent graduate that was so involved in a wide array of different arts and AP programs and dual level credit courses that, I mean, all are going to be losing. I mean, it's insane the amount that Tipton's going to be losing and cutting because of these bills. And I think the teachers are scared, and I don't think they really have.
A lot of them are that I've talked to, not just in Tipton.
Yeah. I mean, well, the state is cutting. It's like, oh, not to get ahead, but it's like $930 million.
Yeah.
For the entire.
Let's for viewers who haven't followed it closely. Yeah. What is SEA1? Yeah, and why should parents care? Why should anybody care?
Yeah, so SEA1, to put it in just
plain terms, like put it property. Explain it like I'm a 5-year-old, right? So that's the best way I can put it.
So farmers in particular have really been hurting when it comes to property tax increases, and the state legislature, in particular the Republicans, really were trying to, I mean, everybody was trying to figure out how to create a solution that benefited everyone. But the way in which these property taxes people are experiencing decreases, they're coming from public schools directly, and they're coming from the operational funds in which public schools would be receiving through the state. And the entire state, through these property tax decreases that everyone will be benefiting from very soon, or have already been benefiting from. I mean, you can look into your individual county and see what your school is losing. It's all public information, but the entire state's losing $930 million by 2031, I believe, just due to a tiny amount per individual of property tax decreases, which is why everyone is seeing a referendum on the ballot. I mean, it's about every community that's talking about a referendum to increase property taxes, which just 2 years ago, we were talking about how good these property tax decreases would be for farmers and for residents. And now we're talking about increasing them again.
And there's so many, I've talked to so many people when I was on the campaign trail and even after that, I keep hearing about property tax decreases, but that's not what I'm hearing from the people. I mean, there was an elderly woman that I talked to down in Johnson County right before the primaries that her husband passed a couple years ago, and her property taxes doubled. She has to sell her home that she's lived in for like 50 some years. Don't quote me on the exact years, but that she's lived in, we'll say, for 50 years. She has to sell her home now because she can't afford it, and she's on a fixed income. So, I hear that SEA1, help with property taxes, but did it? And where's this money going? And I know you may not be able to answer that. That's kind of what we're gonna hopefully flesh out over the next few months as I interview candidates. So how do you expect SEA1 to impact Tipton schools over the next 5 years? Be specific.
Yeah, so other schools are definitely cutting programs, and they're cutting corners, and that's, you can tell, but Tipton's going to be cutting programs and cutting classes. And what that looks like is it's really hard to tell. It depends on if this referendum passes. But if this referendum does not pass, it's really what can we cut? Is the calculations, if you were to, let's say we cut every every role that has
Mhm.
assistant in front of it. You cut every role, which I don't want to do that. If you did, you'd save somewhere between ballpark of $600,000. When you're talking
Sure.
about losing $2.7 million, that's not a lot. And you're still going to have to cut programs like our agriculture department, which is a very prevalent pathway that students take and
Hold on.
see.
So you're saying that they're looking at cutting the ag department? I mean, what
which
about
Tipton's known for.
right?
Of course, Indiana's known for, but Tipton is we have the best soil
you do
in the entire state when it comes to agriculture.
Yep.
And not just the agriculture pathway, but all these other pathways are experiencing cuts. But let's talk about in 2 or 3 years when kids who have been taking the fine arts pathway are told you can't take the fine arts pathway anymore, or business.
Well, arts is always the first to get cut.
Arts is always the first to get cut. And I mean, I don't want to say that people won't care until ag and athletics start to get cut, but ag and athletics will start to get cut because it's not long until, I mean, this school year's covered, but the school year after this looks disgusting.
So how long until football and basketball gets cut? Heads will roll if that happens.
Yeah, so that's next year, not this year, but next year if this referendum doesn't pass. That literally football, basketball are. We just got new tennis courts and new Inferno, which is our basketball courts, and a new turf for our football field. All of these sports are going to be experiencing cuts. All of these, anything that is not a core class, English, math, social studies, science, they're going to be experiencing cuts. And what does that look like? That looks like what's already been happening in our language department. If you take a language at Tipton High School, from my knowledge, you are now enrolled in an AI language lab, which, I mean, sounds okay until you're actually within the course. And from what I've heard, the students who are taking German and French through these language labs, it's a nightmare.
So they're using AI to teach instead of a teacher?
It's more so. I mean, I would see students sit out in the hallway, and this is before our French teacher retired, who's also teaching half of the Spanish classes. Our Spanish teacher, who's there for another year, is in his late 70s. So there's only so much that one teacher for an entire language department can do. So I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're branching out to the teacher that would handle the online students, the online courses who are hybrid. I'm sure she would be the teacher that would facilitate the language lab. But yeah, I mean, it sounds really, I mean, the advertising for it is really top notch. There's, I mean, any language you really want, a student can take, but the technology is not there yet, in my opinion, and from the opinion of the students who are enrolled in language classes.
Wonder how much money is being spent on that.
I could only imagine.
Cost-cutting measures to not pay a teacher so they don't have the overhead of health insurance and benefits like that. It sounds like that's an opportunity to look at something and maybe put the teacher back in the classroom.
Yeah.
What programs or services would you consider off limits for budget cut? Like there is nothing that will convince you to cut those.
Transportation's a big one. I know that's the first one that comes to mind. I don't even know if we can cut transportation. I know we can cut transportation. I know we can't eliminate it. I think transportation is a big one where if students cannot get to school, they cannot learn. If the people who cannot, I mean, whatever it be, students whose parents go to work beforehand, students who are impoverished and don't have a vehicle, they need to get to school somehow. And I think transportation is important. I think, of course, no one's going to talk about cutting our core classes, but I think when it comes to pathways and different programs in which the state has designated students to be able to graduate from, our state is, our diplomas are already so lenient when it comes to the amount of work that someone needs to produce in order to graduate. And then all these programs, which are very hands-on for students, like the pathway programs, work-based learning, John Hines, they will be experiencing cuts because of tips. I mean, these are fund depriving programs that help students, But then again, I can't promise if this referendum passes that I can't say, oh, well, these aren't, I can't keep my hands off of this. I mean, I could vote 6-1 or 6-2 or 5-2 to not vote on, I mean, eliminating a program or cutting a program. But I think $2.7 million is so much money, and there's only so much that I can do.
It's a lot. So where do you think the district could become more efficient without hurting students?
I think the most efficient, the way that board members could probably be the most efficient right now, where Tipton needs it, is probably when it comes to community building, only because that's where, if the board members do not build the board members have to educate the community in the right way, because what I'm seeing right now from certain board members is the smearing of facts, the manipulation of data. I think that completely turns people off when it comes to an idea or a referendum or a piece of legislation at all that people are weary on voting on. And if students rely on that piece of legislation to continue to operate at TCSC normally, you have to come to, I mean, everybody, residents, community members, farmers in particular. I mean, farmers right now aren't even, I mean, they aren't sure whether or not this referendum applies to their residential property or all of the property in which they own.
Yep, that one I do know. Talking to a friend I have a friend who lives in Tipton and farms.
Well, it's if that's a big one, and if it's just the residential property, I know a ton of farmers who are, I mean, they're yes. If it's not, then they have been deceived, they've been lied to, and they will not listen to anyone who's on the administrative team of Tipton Community School Board of Trustees.
Have you talked to the farmers? Like, I've talked. I know some farmers that are Republican in the Tipton that are not happy, and they're seeing the effects of, I mean, to put it bluntly, they asked for this. They voted for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be crass, but this is what they wanted when they cast their vote the way they did. And they're starting to realize that. I think they're coming to terms with the fact that they created this environment that we're in right now. They helped to create this environment. They individually didn't, but collectively, you know, that we are where we are because of people that cast those votes, right? On the Republican side, and they were misled. Some of them are having a hard time still admitting that, at least publicly, I think. What do you say to those individuals?
Well, I think it's very clear that individuals on both sides are manipulated very easily. I think we all get stuck in
let's not pretend that Democrats don't do it too.
Yeah, we all get stuck in our echo chambers, and I think that's a very important detail to lead with. I think I have gotten stuck in my echo chambers, and I think that that's a horrible life to lead. And I think that, I mean, the life is honestly designed that way right now, and I think that sticking as a community,
unfortunately, you're right.
Really, I mean, yeah, I think sticking as a community in person, of course, as well as online, but in person especially, I think helps. And I think having in-person conversations with, I mean, not only Republican farmers, but Republican voters and Republican-leaning independent voters to say, you were manipulated like I at one point. We are all manipulated at times. And I think that this is the better way forward for all of us, because that's what we all want. We all want the better way forward.
So let me ask you this. You know, my daughter's your age. She's a year older than you. And my son's a couple years older than you. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a detriment to have made this school board a political position?
Yeah, I hate how politicky this position is. The idea that there has to be all of these politicky aspects of this position, the parade walking, the PACs donating to school board candidates are insane. I don't think any PAC should be donating hundreds or thousands of dollars to a school board race. That's insane and that's nuts. And I don't think
I'm seeing a lot of evangelical, and I haven't specifically, let me preface this. I have not looked at Tipton's school board race. I haven't looked at your donations or anybody else's, but I have seen in a lot of local races, a lot of evangelical PACs are targeting local races specifically to get, they're trying to get an agenda passed. It's obvious that's how Micah Beckwith became the lieutenant governor. And I think anybody who follows me personally and follows Rent Free and knows me knows that I am not a Micah Beckwith fan at all, as is a lot of people aren't either, including even Republicans that are not fans of Micah.
Yeah.
But enough about him. I think he gets enough press. We don't need to give him any more airtime. Let's talk about teachers and staff, Caiden. Could SEA 1 make it harder to recruit and retain quality teachers?
Yeah, that's a given with this bill. I mean, it'll be not only harder to retain and recruit, it'll be harder to provide any form of support to any teacher, K through 12 at all. And it's really hard to be employed at any business or any organization in which says, I'm sorry, we love what you're doing here, and we can't support you. I mean, that's horrible. The fact we can't afford to give you raises. We can't afford to do this. But then again, there's a transparency problem at Tipton right now. And I think that there's board members that need to answer for some of the raises in which administrators have been receiving. That, once again, I'm pro administrator raises. I think administrators are people that need to eat too. And I think our schools are going to be hungry, and teachers are going to be experiencing it the hardest.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that teachers should get the raises before the leaders do?
I think in many different instances, yes, because teachers are the leaders, in which we never really talk about. I mean, we talk about the ways in which administrators lead, and we talk about the ways in which superintendents and administrative superintendents and the administrative board will lead. But I mean, teachers are hungry and struggling, and they deserve the props that we never give them.
Look, I'm new. I've 22 years I've worked in higher education. And I've worked in not-for-profit higher education. I've worked in for-profit higher education. And now this year I am blessed to have put that chapter of my life to bed. I think everything happens for a reason. You know, I met somebody who works in K through 12, and during my campaign, and I am fortunate enough that they sent me a job that opened up in their school, and I am now an operations coordinator for a middle school, which is really exciting. So I am one of those administrators, and I can wholeheartedly say I would rather, and I'm not saying this would happen where I'm working,
right?
But in general, I would rather see a teacher get the raise before I got a raise, right? Mm-hmm. Because the teachers are the front lines.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you want your front line to be happy. And let's talk about being happy.
Yeah.
People are leaving, Connorsville, where I grew up, is very similar to Tipton. A good fraternity brother, friend of mine, actually lives in Tipton. And he and I kind of grew up in the same way. In your small towns, people are running away quickly, which is kind of what drew me to have you on this show, because most people are running and screaming away from small towns as fast as they can get away to get out, right? And granted, I know you're still going to college this fall, right?
Yeah.
But you're still running to change something for your community. And we're seeing across the state in small communities, small cities and towns, that people are leaving and they're not coming back. Indiana is losing people. Do you think that this is one of many reasons that can be used as an example as to why they're leaving in droves?
Well, yeah, I mean, public schools and the funds in which public schools receive, I mean, they completely are linked to quality of life. And I think that Indiana just has a quality of life problem. I think we're ranked bottom 10, if I was not mistaken.
Correct.
I just think Indiana has a quality of life problem, and I think that this is just a pattern that is just continuing to impact quality of life.
So how do we remain competitive, Caiden, if neighboring districts can offer higher salaries? Now, I think you and I both know SEA 1 is affecting every community across the state. So yeah, they're all facing these struggles, right? Mm-hmm. And when I say neighboring communities, it could very well mean Ohio or Michigan or Illinois or even Kentucky, who, as much hell as we give people in Kentucky for being quote, people act like Kentucky's uneducated. Kentucky's education system's actually looking pretty good compared to Indiana right now.
Yeah.
So, what do we do? What would you do from the school board aspect?
I mean, it's really hard. I know that I don't want to say it all comes back down to this referendum, but it is just so hard to not. I mean, there's many different ways that this gutting of funds can be fought, but I don't think that Tipton can offer what even neighboring counties can offer. I mean, I know Carmel Clay is not that far from myself,
right?
And they are not cutting programs and funds the same way that Tipton is. They're struggling just about as bad as every other school is, but they have support that Tipton just does not have. And I think that other schools like Carmel Clay, like these bigger schools that, maybe a history teacher that is paid, $40,000 is not what teachers are paid at Tipton. But when we have a gap that is $100,000 gap from teachers and administrators, and teachers saying, well, why shouldn't I go over to Carmel Clay? Why shouldn't I go over to, not even just neighboring counties, teachers will go 7 or 8 counties over to get the pay that they deserve and the pay that they think they need. But there's a lot of community talk right now about ways to alleviate the funds, like county consolidation. Tipton County has 2 schools right now, Tri-Central and Tipton Community School Corporation. There's so many people in Tipton right now saying, well, I may not send my kids to Tipton until Tipton Community School Corporation decides to consolidate. I think consolidation has consequences that people may not realize. I think that a lot of people don't realize that we just spent a lot of money updating and renovating Tipton Community School Corporation. What would the loss of school colors look like? What would the loss of our school slogan, our school anthem, our school mascot? What would that look like to a lot of lifelong Tiptonians who are rooted in traditionalist ideology? I mean, I wouldn't want to see Hail to Tipton High go because I like that song, but I also understand that the privatization of public schools in Tipton County is a nightmare. And that looks like, what does that look like? That looks like rejection letter and religious persecution. And it's a nightmare.
So do you think that this could also mean larger class sizes? I think that's kind of obvious. If you're eliminating teacher positions, the kids are still there needing taught. So instead of 30 in the classroom, it might turn into 40 or 50. Yeah,
not just that, but just scheduling imbalances all over. Even just last year, there were classes that had 35 kids in one class and then 7 kids in another class. And a lot of it comes from scheduling inconsistencies, which just could be fixed once again by funding each department as it would need to be funded if we were not being impacted the way we were under SCA 1. But there will be a lot of scheduling errors and a lot of nightmares for teachers, like 30, 35 kids in a classroom. Not just in high school, but in middle school and elementary school. And that's nightmare.
It's a lot of kids for one teacher to handle.
Yes.
So if elected, what's the first financial question, Caiden, that you'll ask the superintendent regarding SEA 1?
That's good.
I know it puts you on the spot.
Yeah, and
it's okay if you don't know. If you need time to think about it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I think once again, we go back to administrators and raises. I've talked with the administrator, Dr. Jaworski, quite a bit. But one thing that I did not ask him is the fact that, I mean, he did receive a raise. I think he's getting paid ballpark $140,000, $150,000 now. And I think that there are community members. Yeah, there are community members that are right to question, why is this man who is first-year superintendent receiving a raise that, receiving a raise.
First year?
He was assistant superintendent before that, which, by the way, he has been, he was an administrative director, and he has been a part of Tipton for quite some time. And it's insane how much his gross pay has jumped. And I think community members are right within their minds to ask that. And I think if I'm elected, I
agree.
I think I should probably ask, well, what's that all about? I think he's a great organizer and he's great at what he does. And $150,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, that is, it's more than I make.
Yeah.
But let's talk about school board pay. Do you get paid as a school board member?
Yes, I do. It's like $2,000 a year.
Oh, they're going to break the bank with that then, right?
Yeah, I know. And I've already said, though, that if I am elected, I will put, it's not much, but I'll put that back towards the school. I don't need $2,000, and I don't do this for the money, and I don't do this for the political elevation. I do this because this is how I feel as though I can serve my school.
That's awesome. So would you support asking voters for a referendum if it became necessary to help increase funds?
Yeah, I mean, the referendum passed 6-0, and I think that I will be alongside the political action committee that will be involved with Tipton schools that will be trying to recruit people for this referendum. I do, however, before I publicly support this referendum, state that I want at least one board member to come out and address the problems in which farmers and other Republicans are experiencing voting for this bill, because it doesn't matter if I vote for this bill because I'm one person. You need to get 50.1 to pass this referendum, 50.01% of the votes. I'm not 3,000 people. I'm not 4,000 people.
Sure.
I mean, I think I would publicly support this referendum, and I'll be out canvassing on behalf of the PAC that will be supporting this referendum. I've also been told that Tipton Community School Board candidates cannot be campaigning for this referendum, which I was a little confused about. Yeah. But then again, I do think that if a referendum is necessary for the operational, I mean, if Tipton cannot operate without a referendum, I will vote for the referendum, and I will get as many people to vote for this referendum, and I will do all that I can. I would like to see the board do the same. And also maybe I should ask, why can't board members campaign for this referendum?
Sure. So if you're elected, what, well, let me think about this. What metrics will you use to determine whether the district is adapting successfully or not? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think that not only I think if this referendum passes, I think the amount of money in which we're receiving that increases, that goes to operational funds, I think we should see if that's the amount that we were expecting to receive. I think if it's not, I think that shows that there's been some manipulation of data. And I think that we should go back and see what we can do budget-wise to help fill these gaps. I think that there's just so much that I can't even answer because I don't know. And it's not because I'm not going out and seeking this information. It's because the information that I'm receiving is being manipulated, and the sources that I go to, the facts are changing.
Are they hiding? Do you think they're hiding the information?
See, I don't know if it's intentional, or I don't know if people are being deceived without them knowing. But information that's being posted by elected officials are misleading and incorrect. And that's nuts. That shouldn't happen.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, like online calculators that are being posted for residents and community members to see how much they're going to be paying on this referendum is giving them misled results. The referendum says though it's 25 cents per $100 that does not exceed $2 million of assessed property value. And the graphics that are being posted say that someone with an assessed property value of $200,000 should only pay about $216 a year. What people are really finding out when they use calculators, when they actually know the math, is that they'll be paying about $481 a year, which is a big increase. That's more than 2 times the amount that they're being told that they're going to pay. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's intentional deception. I don't know if either way, I think that an elected member of any governing body should be going over, double checking, triple checking the information that they're giving their voters and their residents, because that's what does that lead to?
Right. So let me ask you this. What experience do you have reading budgets and financial reports?
Only what I did when I was in meetings for Jackson Franklin for Congress, their group, mm-hmm. and when watching school board public hearings, that's what I know. But, or I should say, and I think there's this idea that someone has to have all of this budgeting experience before they head onto the school board. And I think someone has to have a little bit. And I think that I have that little bit that's necessary from subcommittees and from, like, it's weird because looking at bodies like the school board, mm-hmm. student governing bodies like student council, class office, if you are in tune to those meetings, as well as in tune civically to other meetings like city council, county council, the meetings of candidates that are running in your area, it's really a nice little gateway to the boring stuff of the financial jargon that is on the school board. I wouldn't say I'm literate or fluent in it, but I say I'm getting there.
Okay. So, well, this is going to be my last question for you, or not so much the question. Imagine, I'm going to turn it over to you. Imagine you're speaking directly to a parent with a first grader. They're worried about what their child's education will look like in 2031 because of SEA 1. What would you tell them?
Well, I think that worry's good. I think the worry comes from a place that is completely real. I think a lot of people are worried. And I think what that worry needs to do, instead of turn to blind anger and turn into isolation, it needs to turn into talking to your neighbors, talking to the people in your community, talking to your elected officials. In particular, if you have any questions, you can go to the assessor's office. The number is publicly available. My dad and I both have the assessor stuff posted. If anybody in Tipton were to need mm-hmm. to do that, there's a right way to go about this, and there's a wrong way to go about this. And I feel as though the right way forward, like talking to your elected officials and becoming rightfully educated on the material to vote on in November, that's the way forward. And I think after this referendum passes, let's say it doesn't pass and people are still scared, I think that's when people start going to board meetings if they can. If they can't, take time and message teachers to see if they need anything, if you can give it. There's this, unfortunately, if this referendum doesn't pass, schools are going to look like what they never have before. And it's going to be really scary. I'm hoping that Tipton is such a community like what we've seen in the past, where resources can be pulled in, volunteers and advocates will do what they can. But then again, this is just a time where everyone's energy is elsewhere. And that's a grim answer, and I don't want to lead with that. But if someone is worried, mm-hmm. the best way to go about that is to lead with it and to not crawl into a ball and hide in a corner and cry about it. We need to stay strong and go about this the right way.
I guess I do have one more question. You're
Yeah.
asking people old enough to be your parents and grandparents to trust your judgment.
Yeah.
Why should they?
I think they should, only because I offer a perspective that has not been seen before and a perspective that we honestly don't know if it works. I do think that this is a gamble. I also do think that this is a gamble that has been shown can work. I think Tipton needs some diversity that is good, and I think that this diversity should not just be seen as young and naive and reckless, but should be seen young in the fact of fresh and able to be determined and, I mean, energetic enough to just step on the gas and go for it. I would love to talk with as many people as I can. And I'm a runner. I run to places and I run to restaurants to meet with people. And I don't think my two opponents, who are about 55 or 60, could say the same thing. I mean, I think I have a brain that my two candidates that are Republicans don't have youth-wise. And I think I like to use that in terms of analytical comparison and historical comparison. We have not been in this mess for that long, but it's evolved. And I think I was born into this. I was born into No Child Left Behind. I was born into all of these massive reforms, which were seen by the outside as meant to help public schools, did not help public schools. I was born into the Obama administration. And then when I was 10, Donald Trump was elected. I have a very narrow view of things that at times may be seen as unwanted or unnecessary. But I think when it comes to the student body that really needs representation and a group of faculty members that do not feel represented at all, I think that I offer something that is really needed.
I think you offer your age is definitely not a deterrent. If I've got older folks in Tipton watching, I would not hold Caiden's age against him. I think your youth, buddy, is something that could bring a lot of value to the school board. So, Caiden, I want to wish you the best of luck. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story and your vision for Tipton schools and why you've chosen to step into public service at such a young age. No matter hey, you're more than welcome. And also make sure when we get off here, you send me your address, because you do get one of the official Beaky shirts that people are fighting for. They definitely want them. So no matter the outcome this November, I hope this is just the beginning of a lifetime of civic engagement for you. All right. Best of luck on the campaign trail, and thanks for spending part of your Sunday with us here on Rent Free.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. And to everybody watching, thank you for joining us for the first edition of Sunday's Down Ballot Candidate Series. As I said at the top of the hour, every Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m., we'll be introducing you to candidates that are running for offices that often have the biggest impact on our everyday lives, but too rarely get the attention that they deserve. So we've talked about education. Now let's shift gears and talk county government. Our next guest is Carol Pearson, who's running for Hancock County Council District 3. We'll be discussing county budget, growth, infrastructure, public safety, fiscal responsibility, and the priorities she believes that matter most for Hancock County residents. Carol, welcome to Rent Free.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. How are you doing, Carol?
Good.
Good. Well, let's take a few minutes. I'd like to begin with the person before the politics. Tell us about yourself, Carol.
Well, I was born in 1976, so the 200th anniversary of the country, down in southern Indiana. Actually grew up in Indianapolis, spent about 10 years, give or take, in Chicago, and then moved back to central Indiana, specifically Greenfield, to be closer to family. So
how long have you called Hancock County home?
Since 2017.
Awesome. What do you enjoy doing when you're not working or campaigning?
I'm always trying to expand my vegetable garden.
Yes.
And I've got a nearly 4-year-old dog who is currently outside chasing squirrels. So.
I love your dog. It is absolutely adorable.
I'm usually walking her around the neighborhood during breaks from work.
So what do you love most about living in Hancock County?
I think probably just it has a more community feel. I enjoyed the fast pace of living in Chicago, but it's hard to get away from all the noise when you live in a large city. So,
Sure.
If you live in an apartment, especially, you've got neighbors above you, neighbors everywhere making noise and out on the street. And it's much quieter. It feels more relaxed here. And like I can take a beat and just kind of get away from all the hustle and bustle more easily. So
what life experiences have prepared you for public services?
Well, I've got, let's see, almost 30 years experience in the financial services industry.
Mm-hmm.
I had to think about that. 1998 was when I got out of college.
Seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah. I also, when I was in Ball State,
Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp. I was an officer in our religious council.
Mm-hmm.
So was treasurer of that and then vice president and then got thrown into president in my 3rd year. So led that for a bit. And yeah, just basically, I also have a master's degree in international politics. So.
Mm-hmm. And now this isn't your first time running for office either, is it?
No, I have I in 2023 ran for the first time for Greenfield City Council.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2024, I ran for Hancock County Council as an at-large candidate. So
okay. So let's talk about why you decided now was the time to run again.
I'm just all about trying to bring different perspectives and different voices to the table. We have been led by a Republican supermajority by pretty much the same people for decades at this point. And unfortunately, what happens in that environment is you lose a bit of accountability. And, there's always the running joke about Chicago politics being so corrupt. And there it's kind of a Democratic supermajority. But here it's a Republican supermajority. So when you have one party that's that dominant for that long, you start losing a bit of accountability to the voters and you stop listening to what the voters need because you just run under the assumption that, I'll get in. It doesn't matter what I do. It's a surefire bet. I can just do what I want. And I think there's a certain amount of human nature in that if you don't think that someone's going to challenge you, why bother changing?
So why did you decide to run for county council? Why county council?
Well, again, I just have that background in financial services and being able to look at data and look at numbers and try to see where the money is coming from, where it's going, if it could be allocated better.
Okay. And why District 3?
District 3
For those who don't know, I know the answer to this. I know viewers don't.
Yeah.
I know what people are like, God, he's dumb.
So,
no, I know the answer, but there are a lot of viewers who may not understand that.
Yeah.
Why
So,
District 3?
District 3 is basically most of Greenfield and possibly a little surrounding, but it's a majority of the Greenfield area, and Greenfield is where I live. So,
okay. Probably could have asked that a little bit better so people would understand that. Yeah, it's based on where you live.
didn't have a choice.
Yeah. What concerns? Yeah, you're not going to run for county council in another city, obviously. What concerns have you had the most often while knocking on doors?
I think just a lot of what we hear about are the tax abatements
Yeah.
and all of the warehouses that are going in and the wear and tear on the road. And we just get these big, ugly buildings, and we're not seeing financial benefit from them. They come in with the understanding that they'll bring jobs, they'll bring economic development, and that's why the abatements are granted. But then if they're not hiring locally or not occupying the warehouse at all that much, then it's using resources, but we're not seeing any benefit from it. And, you know, a lot of the questions that I get is, well, why do I, as an individual, have to pay property taxes if this multi-million-dollar corporation doesn't? So
That's been my question for a long time, a long time.
yeah.
So let me ask this. I'm going to go a little off script here. What do you think abatements should be banned?
I think we need to I don't know about an outright ban. I do think we need to reassess how they're allocated. I would like to see if there's a local company from Hancock County that's starting up and is building locally. I would be much more likely to say, yes, absolutely, that's a good company that should probably be given an abatement because they're local based. They're probably going to be hiring locally.
Mhm.
I do have an issue with multi-billion dollar corporations that have no accountability here, just being granted abatement with vague promises. So I think there needs to be stricter guidelines in place for how those are given out.
Sure. Well, what do you think that the average resident misunderstands about what the county council actually does? Or maybe better yet, explain to me like I'm a fifth grader. What does county council do? Because I think a lot of people don't know. They don't realize everything that county council does and doesn't do.
Yeah. We work with the commissioners to allocate resources and
for what? Resources for what?
Resources for construction, for infrastructure, for
Are they the ones that, when I hit a pothole that I'm going to call and bitch at them?
Well, that you'd have to call the streets department.
Streets department. But do they get their money from county council?
Well, in Greenfield, they get their money from the city. So
the city. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not one. What's something? Give us an example of what residents would call the county council on.
Well, county roads, the upkeep on those probably. But,
okay. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So what do you think that the or what would success look like after your first term? Let's say you get elected. Mm-hmm. After your first term, what does success look like?
I think success looks like a reduction in the number of abatements that are granted to large corporations and more transparency in the numbers that are released to the public. So showing them, okay, this is what this company was granted as an abatement with this promise that they would do X, Y, and Z. And showing, okay, if they have not met these guidelines, now we will not move forward with granting them further abatements.
Okay. Well, Larry Silver commented and said that the county council just approved a $30,000 a year planning consultant, and he'd like to know if you were on the council, would you have voted for that or against it?
What's the planning consultant supposed to do? Because it seems to me like if they're just pushing off work that the counselors are supposed to be doing, then I wouldn't see the point of it. I mean, if we've gone this far without needing a planning consultant, what was the justification for bringing one in?
We'll wait on Larry to comment back and answer your question. We'll give him a second here. While we're waiting on that, let's talk about growth and development. Hancock County continues to experience rapid growth, right? Is growth itself the challenge, or is managing it the challenge?
I think probably managing it.
How so?
Well, just making sure that resources are allocated appropriately. Like, do we have the emergency resources we need in place in one district versus another?
Okay.
Are the resources being allocated to match the population growth in a given area versus just allocating it based on, oh, this district has more money, so we're just going to give it to them.
Okay. And Larry commented back. He did say that the planning, it was to help the planning department with permitting. So his original question was, the council approved a $30,000 a year planning consultant to help the planning department with permitting. And he wants to know if you would have voted for or against that if you were on the council.
I would probably not have voted for it.
Okay, why not?
I think that's something that could probably be done in-house. Surely the planning department has people on staff that can handle permitting.
Okay.
It would seem that would be part of their role. So
how do we balance economic development with protecting the character of our communities?
Well, I think we need to be very cautious about building for the sake of building. Hancock County has historically been a more agricultural area. And a lot of what I hear when I'm out canvassing is it's no longer the place that I thought I was moving into, or it's no longer the Hancock County that I recognize. Because rather than driving down the road and seeing farms, now you drive down the road, you see all these warehouses, all these big structures. So, kind of controlled growth, I think, is maybe what I'm getting at.
So infrastructure often struggles to keep up with development. What should be the county's priorities?
I think making sure that we have the right amount of emergency resources relative to the population. Making sure that our electrical grid is up to code, making sure that the water levels remain at an acceptable level. Which I know kind of goes into the whole discussion of data centers, but
And we'll
just
get to
making
that.
sure that we're not just making sure that we as individual citizens have the resources that we need.
Okay. How important is long-term planning versus reacting to growth?
I I think long-term planning can, over time, help with mapping out a better budget. I think when you react to growth and you just say, oh, we're going to have this number of people, we need to do this right now, you can sometimes make mistakes or either take a cheap route that ends up being more expensive later, or potentially missing something important. So, sitting down and looking at growth and saying, okay, this is what we're expecting to have happen. This is the numbers that we're projected to have. Let's see how we can fit this into our current infrastructure, and how do we add infrastructure responsibly, so that way we're not taxing the system.
Okay. How do we make sure that growth benefits existing residents and not just developers?
Well, if we do have these multi-billion-dollar companies coming in, I think we need to do a better job of making sure that they are bringing jobs and that they are hiring locally, not just, reevaluating the whole tax abatements, but Hancock County would also get money from payroll taxes, for example. So it's in the interest of the county to hire locally. So making sure that any growth that happens with regards to business development is centered on the people who live here, if that makes sense.
It does. So, we've talked about a few things. What concerns do you have about traffic, roads, and public safety as the county continues to expand?
I think we need to make sure that we're posting speed limits a little bit better. I know that sounds weird, but and there are certain areas where you'll see speed limit signs every couple feet, it seems like, but there'll be times when I'm out on the county road and I have no idea how fast I need to go. And if someone were to run out in the middle of the road, and I'm driving at a speed that's too fast, that could be a problem. So, obviously making sure that people are aware of traffic conditions and building traffic lights where appropriate. Roundabouts are all well and good, but sometimes a traffic light might make more sense in a given intersection. So doing studies and not just automatically throwing up another roundabout.
Well, Indiana does love its roundabouts. A lot.
Yeah.
So Larry asked, do you support the proposed $20 million judicial center? It's a good question, Larry.
Yeah. Honestly, that is one of those things where we need to look at the current structures that we have in place, what it would cost to repair them going forward versus this upfront $20 million cost. And did we do an analysis to ensure that what we have in place wasn't going to be as cost effective as spending $20 million on a new judicial center? And did we get the best bid for the resource center? Could we have done it in a more cost-effective way?
So excellent question too.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about county finances, the county council is responsible for the county budget. What's your philosophy on taxpayer dollars?
Well, obviously, I think the taxpayer dollars should go to things like funding schools, making sure that they're properly funded, making sure that county resources are, sorry, my diabetes.
I know what that is.
Went off.
Yep. Mine does it too. I actually made sure that I do not have my Dexcom on today. Mine, unfortunately, my Dexcom, it drew blood, and so I had to take it out. But
Yeah.
anyways, keep going.
Mine is saying I'm urgently low, but I'm not, so I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, sorry, what was the question?
I know that's what I'm trying to go, but let me go back there. So the county council is responsible for the county budget. What's your philosophy on taxpayer dollars?
Okay, my philosophy on taxpayer dollars is we need to make sure that we're allocating them in the most fair way possible. So obviously, we do have some areas that are poorer than others, but
for example, like what?
For example, there are parts of Greenfield, for example, that you'll go through that it's like, oh, this is definitely an area that is less economically developed than others.
Right.
But, you go through any part of the county, there are areas that are not as well off as, for example, Greenfield.
Do you think that they should invest more money in those areas?
I think we need to make sure that our emergency response centers are up to par in every area, and not just, oh, well, this area has more people, so we're just going to build the biggest and best here and let everyone else suffer. I mean, I know it doesn't seem as fair to the people who are paying more into it, but we do need to make sure that everybody's needs are taken care of.
Where do you think that the government can become more efficient? I know government and efficiency almost feel like oxymorons. So it's not a trick question, I promise. But where do you think that they can be more efficient at?
I think just making sure that we're staying in budget as much as possible. So,
how important do you think transparency in budgeting is?
I think it's very important. I mean, I don't think people should have to do a complex Google search or a complex web search to find the county budget numbers. I think they should be clearly posted. I think if you want to find where your tax dollars are going and how it's being broken down, that should be easily available and easily searchable and front and center. There shouldn't be any secrets about, okay, well, we have this $30 million mystery fund. We're not going to tell you what it is or what it's going to, but it's there. Like, okay.
How does Hancock kind of do with transparency, in your opinion?
I think we do okay. I think we could be better.
Okay. What would better look like for you?
I think just opening things up more to the public and, making sure that the website is as up to date as it can possibly be.
Okay. Carol, if revenues unexpectedly increased by $10 million, what would be your top priorities?
Trying to determine where to get that 10 million. I think that's one where we would definitely need to reassess who we're giving these tax abatements to and say, okay, well, we need this $10 million. We've got this company that built this warehouse here that made these promises to us and they're not delivering. So why are we giving them a further abatement?
Okay.
Let's ask them for this money.
So let's say the county faced a significant budget shortfall. What principles would guide your decisions?
Major shortfall. I think just making sure that we know where everything went, what exactly was coming in when, and what led to the shortfall. Is is this an area where we could have done a better job planning? You know, I hate to do analysis after the fact, but we kind of need to take a look at things and say, okay, this is probably something that we should have budgeted for. So let's put guardrails in place to make sure that in the future we don't have this major shortfall coming up.
So Larry's got a good question. What would Carol approve or disapprove of a data center? I know this.
Right now, I would disapprove it. Just because the data centers that we have coming in so far are not doing a good job of regulating things from an environmental perspective.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, and they're not being held accountable to the people who live in the county.
But they can't even answer to half the time. They can't even answer to the county. What kind of data center is it going to be? Is it going to be open loop, closed loop? Like, how much electricity is it going to use? They can't answer those questions.
Yeah, and it's going to
kind of scheming, right?
Yeah, we've already got a big strain on our resources because of growth. So, what are you going to do to help us? Are you going to do a closed loop system that may be a little more environmentally friendly? That may cost a little bit more for you guys, but it would help us out in the long run. Or are you just going to put up a data center and drain all our resources and leave us with nothing? I mean, leave us poor and destitute.
Talking to Chuck Gill, and shout out to Chuck. Hopefully he's watching. What the water tables, there's concerns about the water tables for Hancock County. So, and it's that way for a lot of counties across the state. I know Hancock County's not the only one that's concerned about water, right?
So
but we got to face the fact that data centers are not going to go away. We can sit and argue about data centers, whether they're good or bad, and people continue tying them to AI. We're going to keep those two conversations separate. We're going to talk about data centers, and we'll talk about AI if we have time. But when it comes to data centers, we use them every day, right?
Right.
Or we use a lot of things that require data centers every day. These aren't new. They've just become new because of what they're doing to our environment. So let's fast forward, and we've got EPA laws in place that or we don't have EPA laws in place. So you're not supportive of data centers coming in until something's in place environmentally, right?
Right.
Okay. Once that's put into place, let's say that the environmental factors are no longer a concern. You've got a data center coming in that wants an abatement. Do you think that we should tie the abatement to how well they are managing their environmental impact?
Absolutely. I think, the abatement would need to be tied not just to the economic factors, like, hiring locally, making sure that they're providing some benefit economically to the county, but also, are they meeting these environmental guidelines?
Sure. And I love the fact that people love to throw the employment out there. Data centers don't employ that many people.
Yeah.
I mean, 5, 10. And the construction crews that that so many people are convinced that they're going to hire local construction crews. They're often brought in from out of state.
Yeah.
So they're not really
tearing up the roads
any type of benefit. Yeah. I mean, there's no benefit to these local communities, and they're destroying acres upon acres of land and doing God knows what to our environment. So absolutely, I'm with you on the EPA impact. Larry asked another good. Larry, you're full of good questions today, buddy. We're gonna get you on the show. Larry wants to know if you'll vote to cancel flock cameras, and I actually want to know the same. I hate those damn cameras.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think that they're necessary, or would you vote to cancel those, to disallow those?
I think there's too much chance that they can be used for nefarious purposes. I'm not saying they are currently. I've not gone, obviously someone in law enforcement can speak to how they're approaching it, but there's always the possibility that it can be used to gather data that we don't want gathered.
Agreed. I think it falls too much into the government for surveillance.
Yeah. Having read
that
1984, I'm a little hesitant.
exactly. Well, and I think anybody who's watched Kara, I know you've heard me offline at Democrat meetings and talk about this too, where I've gotten a few of those speeding tickets on 465 from those damn things for doing 57 because they keep messing with the speed limits from 45 to 55 to 45 to 55 along the east and northern side of 465. They made about $700 off of me because of those damn things.
Yeah.
And I love when people tell me to slow down. I'm literally doing 57 and being mowed over. So well, I won't use the words that I want to use, but back to you. Let's talk about community priorities, Carol. Public safety continues to be a major responsibility of county government. What are your priorities?
My priorities are making sure that we have people receiving the help that they need, not just in terms of the allocation of resources for fire departments and police departments, but with a growing population, we're going to have a growing homeless population.
Yeah.
So we need
unless
to
the police get to them first and put them in prison.
Yeah. I don't think that's a good allocation of resources. I think what we need to do is make sure that we have systems in place to help with job training, for example, help with getting people back on their feet. When you are able to help people take care of themselves, they're less likely to fall on the hard times that may lead to criminal activity.
Sure. So Larry has got a follow-up question. Since you are against the flock cameras, are you also against the sheriff's department's drone program? And I'm not aware of the drone program, so I'm gonna have to look into this. Are you? Do you know anything about the drone program?
I do not know anything about the drone program, but
so Larry,
that sounds kind of Big Brother-ish too.
Yeah, Larry, I think Larry, you're following me personally. If not, send me a friend request on Facebook, Larry, so that way you can send me a DM. I'd like to know some more information about this, and if you ever get a hold of me, so I can get you on the show, maybe you and I can talk a little bit more about that. I'd like to know more about that. So
yeah.
Let's talk about what role should the county government play in supporting mental health services?
Well, there again, I think mental health falls into the category of taking care of people's needs. I happen to be one of those people who is on a mental health medication. I take sertraline for depression. But if you are not able to access the healthcare that you need, presumably you're not able to access the mental health that you need. And that is what leads to a lot of the issues, the homelessness, the addiction, et cetera, et cetera. So let's maybe build resources where, and I'm not talking about, inpatient institutions, but, it could be an outpatient place that people could go to get counseling services, for example, low cost prescriptions for psychiatric medications that they may need to function. So,
inpatient services, it's interesting that you bring that up. They were kind of banned because of what they were doing to patients. And I remember when I was on the campaign trail up in Randolph County, I was right across from one of the condemned ones. It's I just recently saw something online that it's now haunted. So should I tell people this or not? So I'm working on a live broadcast, and I'm trying to get a hold of the folks that are there to possibly do a on location. It won't be a live broadcast because of there won't be internet service within that building, but a taping at least from inside that building with somebody from Randolph County.
That'd be interesting.
At that. So that's something to tease for the future.
Yeah.
But back to you. Affordable housing continues to be discussed throughout central Indiana.
Mhm.
How should the county respond?
Well, I know people are probably going to have an issue when I say this, but I think there needs to be guidelines on the amount of rent that can be charged.
I'd support that.
Yeah, you know, I know sometimes you get into the whole low income housing and could that lead to problems, et cetera, et cetera. But my feeling is like, for example, now I did happen to buy my house 9 years ago during a buyer's market. So the price of my house was about half what it is now. I know from having talked to the people who were previously renting the house next to mine, which just it's currently pending. It's actually going to be sold.
Wow,
but
that went
I'm
really
getting a
quick.
new neighbor.
I remember you saying that it went up for sale.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that
So
that
that'll be
sold pretty
nice.
quick.
But I was talking to one of the people who rented it, and they paid about 3 times in rent what I was paying for my mortgage. And I know that that house has been in that family for a while.
Yeah.
And there, I was thinking there there's got to be a limit on the profit that you can get from
Well,
rental
not just
properties.
necessarily a limit to what they charge. I
Yeah.
think we need to start looking at these private equity firms
Yeah.
and these their Arbor Homes is even building more homes behind my house. And
Mhm.
anybody who knows Arbor Homes is tied to Warren Buffett, to Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
you know,
I don't want to
they
punish
buy up
like
these houses for rent,
yeah.
but then they control the comparables. So,
Right.
here I'm paying, I started paying in McCordsville,
Mhm.
$1,200 a month in rent in 2020. It's
Mhm.
almost $1,900 now
Yeah,
a month.
because you've got people who were like the people who own the house behind mine. It
And
was an individual family, so they have to compete with these multi-million-dollar corporations. Well,
yeah,
so,
these big, huge property management companies
mhm.
are buying up the homes. So then when you try to argue that the rent's too high, they say, oh no, the comparables in the area, they're all the same. It's because it's all the homes that they've bought and jacked the
Yeah,
price up.
yeah. So they can charge
So
what they want to.
so they can charge whatever the hell they
Yeah.
want. Exactly.
So there needs to be some sort of way to get that under control. Don't have an easy answer for it because I don't want to be like, oh, big government coming in and saying you cannot charge this amount.
Well, it's
But
almost like that we need big government to come in
yeah,
now
they're
and say that you can't charge this amount or
yeah.
you can't own more than X amount of homes in a
Mhm.
certain area if you're a corporation.
Yeah.
I mean, the government's there to protect the people, and I think that these rich people and companies are taking advantage of that,
Mhm.
and nobody's had a backbone to step up to stop that.
Yeah, or
Um,
keeping rent increases in line with the cost of living.
right,
That
absolutely should be tied to that.
yeah,
How do we
unfortunately,
keep
our incomes are not going up to match some of this. So
exactly? And I think that's part of this next question. How do we keep young families in Hancock County? They're leaving in droves. They're leaving the state, not just
right.
Hancock County. They're leaving the state. And Caiden McNew, the guest that was on prior to you, he
Mhm.
and I were talking about this too. People are leaving because Indiana is not affordable anymore. The
Right.
wages are terrible. They are not anywhere close to a livable wage.
Mhm.
You've got evangelicals that are attacking democracy left and right, and I'm not talking Christianity. I'm talking the white nationalists,
Mhm.
the evangelical community, like Micah Beckwith,
Mhm.
that are going after everything in our state to control it.
Mhm.
How do
Well,
what are
and
we going to do to fix that? How can we fix that?
yeah, I think we need to definitely get the cost of living to match where the income is, or
Mhm.
get the income up to match what the cost of living is. Also, do a better job of protecting people's rights. Like I know obviously, as a woman who is past childbearing years or close to it, a lot of the laws
We're
regarding
still in our
abortion.
20s, Carol. That's our story.
I've been 25 since
We're
2001.
still in our 20s.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well,
What do you think's one issue that isn't getting enough attention?
I think probably, the rollback on access of care for people in childbearing years, and I'll put it that way to be as non-gender gender neutral as I can.
Sure.
But we have people who are pushing for more and more restrictions on abortion and saying, no, you have to have these children. And then we're not doing anything to make it easier to have children. And the mortality rate
Right.
of women giving birth, birthing people giving birth is quite high. So we need to get healthcare costs under. Obviously, this is not something that county council really controls, but
Sure.
just generally for the state of Indiana, making sure that we have better access to healthcare. And if we're going to make it harder for people to access abortion, then we need to make sure we are doing everything we can to make it easier and more affordable to have children.
Sure.
Or, have better family planning resources in place. One of the best ways that you can actually prevent abortion is not to ban it. It's to make sure that you have educational resources in place, that you have family planning resources in place, that you offer better access to things like birth control, condoms.
And that's something that county council can kind of play an effect on, right?
Possibly. Just have informational seminars, bring people in to say, hey, let's bring these resources in that provide education for people who want to start a family. So, they have the resources they need to be able to do that. And they have the guidelines and the financial background they need to be able to plan for that.
So let's talking about county council. Not everything's going to be, not everybody's always going to agree with each other, right? So how do you handle disagreement?
Well, obviously not the way that I handled them with my younger brother when I was a child. Who can punch harder? No. Just coming to the table and talking things through and saying, okay, this is where I'm coming from. This is why I'm approaching this way. What I'm hearing is you're approaching the issue from this other perspective. Can you tell me why you feel that way? And kind of see if there's a way we can create a middle ground. There might not be. It might just be that we're going to vote differently no matter what, and I'm just going to be voting differently than everybody else on everything. But maybe we can amend the wording on things to make them more palatable, or create common ground where everybody, well, as much as possible, comes out ahead. I'm doing my best to listen to voters, to listen to what they want. So I'm going to be trying to approach it from when, this is when I talk to people, this is what I'm hearing they want. So can you tell me why we should go against what the voters want on this? Or, do you think it would make more sense to do it this other way? Obviously we're not always, the short and long answer is, we're not always going to agree. So we just need to come to as much of a middle ground as we can. And I know
Something we
that
don't
a
do in
lot of people
politics.
think that compromise is a bad thing and, you shouldn't compromise on anything, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah. I mean, you're not always, that's been the problem in politics. I said this even when I was campaigning.
Mhm.
The reason we don't get anything done anymore is because when people don't get their way, they take their kickball and they go home.
Mhm.
That's not what the job of any of the politicians, the office that you're running for, to school board, to all the way up to Congress, U.S. Congress and Senate. Of course, we'd all love to have our way. And Republicans have been doing that for the last 40 years. And look at what it's done to Indiana.
Mhm.
You've got people leaving in droves, education damn near the bottom of the barrel, worst in the country. So it's time for change. Republicans have got to stop voting like it's a damn team sport and start looking at what's going to keep people here and what's going to benefit Hoosiers. So with that, what qualities make an effective county council member? The quality isn't Democrat. The quality isn't independent, libertarian, or Republican. That's not one of the words that I think you or I or anybody with half a brain would use to describe what qualities are required for that position. So let's to everybody who's watching who may be Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, we're going to put that aside for a second. We're going to listen to Carol as she talks about what the qualities are needed to make that position effective. Go ahead, Carol.
I think the qualities that are needed are being able to look at data, to analyze data, and to see where the numbers are coming from and where the numbers are going. That's part of what I do in my day-to-day job. I analyze numbers on benefit plans for large and small employers. So trying to get things as much as possible to balance and to be transparent and not doing things that are beneficial to the county council itself, but doing everything we can to be beneficial to the county at large. We need to analyze things to make sure that we're allocating resources, that we're putting plans in place that help the county grow in a responsible manner.
Okay. So what kind of leader do you hope people describe you as after your first term?
Honestly, I hope they describe me as someone who listens and someone who is able to think things through clearly and analytically and gets things done. Or at least tries to as much as she can.
Sure. Well, Carol, I ask every candidate these last questions. Let's start with, why should someone vote for you?
I am a different voice than what we have currently. Having lived in Chicago, I worked with a diverse group of people, not just white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, Christian straight people. I worked with people from all walks of life. And as Hancock County grows, we're becoming more diverse, and we need people who are willing and able and have the experience interacting with groups that don't match them physically, if that makes sense. And I like to think that I'm able to do that.
Okay. Why should someone who disagrees with you still respect you?
I'm going to be willing to listen. I'm going to do my best to not engage in name calling, as hard as that sometimes is, just kind of taking a step back and, asking people, okay, that's your opinion. Can you tell me how you came about that opinion? Can you tell me why you feel that way? and how can I help you in my job?
Oh, Larry's sliding in here with one final question from the audience. Will Carol push to change county council meetings to the evenings when most people are home from work? Good question.
You know what? I would love to do that. And I've been saying for a long time that it would be easier for me, certainly, to meet in the evenings. Busy season for the job that I'm in is January to March, and I have to put in 50 hours a week. So, morning meetings are, if I have to meet 4+ hours in the morning, that means I'm going to be working well into midnight on those nights. So I think definitely I would love to have later meetings. I don't understand why they're not at this point. I think it would be more convenient, not just for the members of the county council, but I think it would be more, like you said, more convenient for members of the public.
It sounds to me like more live interaction. County council or maybe living high on the hog and don't have a day job that they have to worry about because this isn't a full-time job, is it? Like this is not something that you do for your 9 to 5. This is something that you're doing on top of working a full-time job, right?
Right.
So, all right. Well, this is the final question, Carol. I'm going to turn off my mic. I want you to tell District 3 voters why you're asking for their support. Go.
I'm asking for support in District 3 because I am hoping to bring new perspective, new insight, and also accountability to county council. I will admit that I am not going to be perfect in this role, but I am going to do the best job that I can. And I'm going to work my tail end off to get things done to benefit the people of Hancock County, and going to do everything in my power to make sure that things are done in the most responsible, ethical way possible.
All right, Carol. Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and sharing your vision for Hancock County. We appreciate you spending part of your Sunday with us, and we wish you the very best on the campaign trail.
Thank you for
and I'll be getting with you after the show. I'll send you a message to get you the t-shirt because I know you're looking forward to having it. So I'll get that to you maybe later today if I get out and about.
Okay.
All right. And thank you to everyone who's joined us for the very first edition of our Sunday Down Ballot Candidate Series. This is exactly why we're doing this. Local elections matter, and the people running for these offices deserve an opportunity to introduce themselves directly to the voters. If you're a candidate running for school board, city council, town council, county council, township office, mayor, clerk, judge, or any other local office anywhere in Indiana, and I do mean anywhere in Indiana, I'd love to have you on the show. There is no cost, no catch, and it's no endorsements. It's simply an opportunity to sit down for a long-form conversation and let voters get to know you. Our Sunday schedule is already filling up pretty quickly for July. I've got an opening left for next Sunday at 2:00. I have an opening available. And then we're looking into August and beyond that I have availability for everybody else. So shoot me a message. Let me know if you're interested. You can send me a message on my rent-free page or through my personal page. Don't forget, we're also live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. This Tuesday, I do believe, let me look here. I do believe we are going to be joined. Yep, we are going to be joined by Gary Snyder from the Snyder Report. So we're looking forward to another great conversation, and I hope you'll join us live. Then next Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m., I have an opening still for the 2:00 spot, but at 3:00, we're going to have Hannah Winger from Kokomo that's going to be on the show. If you aren't or if you haven't already, be sure to follow Rent Free with Kory Amyx on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Share today's broadcast with your friends and help us grow this community one conversation at a time. Until next time, I'm Kory Amyx. Have a great week.